Hi, Justin Walsh here, the tall counselor, or perhaps I should say the not yet licensed tall counselor. And the reason why I'll say that is because I do have an ethical obligation to represent myself accurately. And even though I've spent the last 3 years in formal, intense postgraduate study of mental health, it won't be until the end of this year that I complete my internship in counseling and graduate and then become licensed as a licensed professional counseling associate. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's go ahead and move forward with the purpose of this video. And the purpose of this video is this book. I've finally made my way to this book, The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. Bessel Van Der Kolk. Wow, I have to say that it's a really good one, and it presents compelling information and develops a theory on the human experience of trauma. And I'm less than 100 pages into it. Yes, I'm a little late to the show on this one. It was published in September of 2014, and since then it's spent years on the bestseller list. It's been translated into 36 different languages, and it's basically kind of become this go-to book on trauma. So why am I just getting to it? Well, it comes down to the fact that there's so many books and so little time. I mean, I still haven't even read all of Jung, and some of those are going on over 100 years old, and I love to read. So, even though I am still just getting into this book, I already know that it examines basically the ubiquitous experience of trauma in the 21st century. For example, it kind of starts out with some grounding statistics. In those statistics, for example, it says 1 in 5 Americans has been abused as a child. 1 in 4 children has been sexually abused. 1 in 3 couples engages in physical violence in their relationships. And 1 in 8 of us grew up with an alcoholic family member, very close to an alcoholic family member. Add to that the traumatic experiences that many of our veterans have endured while serving this country, and we get a partial list of some of the sources of traumatic stress, but keep in mind that's not all. There are other ways to experience traumatic stress. It's a lot of trauma. Dr. Van Der Kolk's book is based upon his 35 plus years of clinical experience in some of this country's greatest and most prestigious psychiatric institutions. For example, he worked in Boston in Harvard's Massachusetts Medical Center, and then founded and directed the Trauma Center in Brookline, Massachusetts. Like I said, he did that for over 35 years, and he's now involved with an organization called the Trauma Research Foundation, and he also teaches psychiatry at Boston University School of Medicine. So in the book, The Body Keeps the Score, Van Der Kolk's idea is that the experience of trauma remains as a type of psychological memory or a conditioned response by the brain that is then triggered over and over again by reminders of that first initial incident. These retriggerings can go on for years or even indefinitely until one is able to process that memory of the initial trauma and gain resolution. And until that time, this psychophysiological re-experiencing wreaks havoc upon lives. The brain's re-triggering of the fight or flight response without any real danger present in the environment and without actually fighting or running away causes the stress hormones to linger in our bodies. And when they do so, it reduces our overall function and destroys our physical health. This is what carrying stress is. This is very similar to what we see in PTSD. The book notes that traumatized people have a tendency to superimpose their trauma on everything around them. And not only that, but those suffering from such a process may not even be aware that they're doing it. Or perhaps they've simply resigned themselves to it. And let's see, in this section of the book it says, feeling out of control, survivors of trauma often begin to fear that they are damaged to the core and beyond redemption. That's no good. That's no way to live. It's heartbreaking, actually. As previously mentioned, I've hardly gotten into the meat of this book, and yet one thing that struck me is Van der Kolk's illumination of the interplay between psychopharmacology and therapy for the treatment of trauma and other psychological disorders, difficulties, and general suffering. He notes that in 2014, almost 1 million children in the United States were taking antipsychotic drugs, that 1 in 10 Americans now take antidepressants. That's in 2014, so I'm sure it's greater now. And that the number of people treated for depression has tripled over the last 2 decades. Even though the application of psychoreactive drugs has been shown to have an undeniable and indispensable positive effect, such medications are not without limitations. Even though mainstream medicine is firmly committed to medication or a better life through chemistry, in the case of psychoreactive drugs, we often see that medication often treats symptoms while not actually addressing the root cause of the symptoms. The use of the medical model, or perhaps more specifically stated, the medication model, for the treatment of psychological dysfunction, this is like a brain disease conceptualization in which medication fixes the problem. It's in contrast to what is typically done in therapy. In The Body Keeps the Score, we read that the brain disease model takes control over people's fate. It takes it out of their own hands and puts doctors and insurance companies in charge of fixing their problems. Now, in contrast to that, in therapy, many of us employ a wellness model and help people to take control of their own health and to find the individual and specific solutions that they can then use to overcome their specific challenges. This might look like becoming unstuck, or the resolution of historical traumas, and increasing function in all areas of life, especially in relationships and social contexts. Having said that, it is widely known that sometimes the best treatment is a combination of therapy and medication, and that's absolutely true for something like treating depression. Writing on the interplay of the medical model and the wellness model of psychotherapy, Van der Kolk notes that, he says, the brain disease model overlooks 4 fundamental truths. Number 1, our capacity to destroy one another by inflicting trauma is matched by our capacity to heal one another. Restoring relationships and community is central to restoring well-being. 2, language gives us the power to change ourselves and others by communicating our experiences, helping us to define what we know, and finding a common sense of meaning. Number 3, we have the ability to regulate our own physiology, including some of the so-called involuntary functions of the body and brain, through such basic activities as breathing, moving, and touching. And number 4, we can change social conditions to create environments in which children and adults can feel safe and where they can thrive. When we ignore these quintessential dimensions of humanity, we deprive people of ways to heal from trauma and restore their autonomy. Being a patient rather than a participant in one's healing process separates suffering people from their community and alienates them from an inner sense of self. I love that. I think that it's a really good summary of what we can do in psychotherapy. In doing a little research for this video, I encountered some pushback to the ideas and concepts outlined in The Body Keeps the Score. I haven't fully explored those criticisms yet, but I do think that scholarly and scientific criticism is absolutely necessary and should always be welcomed and encouraged in response to a work like this one. So far, it looks like Van der Kolk has anchored much of his work in research and to empirical evidence. I think this book contributes much to the literature on trauma in spite of its critical scrutinies. So yeah, I think this is a really good read. You should check it out. It's fascinating and compelling, and it's also not burdened by scientific jargon or therapy speak. Check it out. Have you read it? If you have, maybe you should share your comments below to generate a thoughtful and interesting dialogue. What are your thoughts? I have an affiliate Amazon link down below. Click on it and get yourself a copy. Doing so contributes to your own learning and literacy as you navigate your journey. And it also supports me along mine. Thank you. If you like this book recommendation and would like to see more, please like and subscribe. Until next time, this is the Tall Counselor, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to sit before you and talk about this book.